The mind of a serial killer must be an interesting yet scary mix of chaos. It must be filled with complexities, undistinguished emotions, and urges. It is a frightful experience to be in the presence of one, but there is something about their stories that many of us are curious to learn from, understand, and to see unfold. Luckily for us, we have exceptional Hollywood actors and actresses that manage to capture the moment and provide us an award-winning performance for their portrayal as serial killers. Hi, welcome to YouWannaWatch, and in this video, we're going to talk about the 10 actors who played serial killers and totally killed it. At number 1, we have John Cusack as Robert Hansen in The Frozen Ground. After playing so many lovable misfits in his 30-plus-year acting career, John Cusack was initially hesitant to play an Alaskan offender in the film The Frozen Ground. When John Cusack first heard about the butcher baker, he was the age of one of the victims. Robert led a seemingly normal life as a husband, father, and baker in downtown Anchorage, Alaska, while secretly hunting women, raped, and eventually murdered at least 17 between 1971 and 1983. He hunted many of them down in the wilderness with a Ruger Mini-14 and a knife. Robert was sentenced to 461 years in prison after his arrest in 1983. He died of natural causes in 2014 at the age of 75 due to lingering health issues. I sort of pushed it away because I thought it would have to be the right circumstance to do it because it's a very dark subject matter, John explained. Robert Hansen was a hard character to play, but John accepted the challenge and eventually came to the terrible conclusion that Robert was having a good time hunting his victims. John admitted that playing such a dark character could have long-term consequences. It's a journey where you're sort of going to the other side and seeing if you can come back without going insane or becoming a psychopath, he explained. At number 2, we have Darren Criss as Andrew Cunanan in The Assassination of 𝗤𝗵𝘁cie American Crime Story. Darren Criss had no hesitations about transitioning from Glee to the darker role of serial killer Andrew Cunanan in FX's The Assassination of 𝗤𝗵𝘁cie American Crime Story, who went on a killing spree in the spring and summer of 1997, killing 5 people, including fashion designer 𝗤𝗵𝘁cie. Before killing himself, Criss said he had to embrace his darkness while still making Andrew Cunanan sympathetic to play the role, for which he won an Emmy and a Golden Globe. Darren remembered, "At what point do I try to rationalize this in a much more accessible place than this sort of black and white villain? People always ask me as if it's hard to live with a dark character, and I say it's no more difficult than living with the darkness in our world. I'm a happy-go-lucky person, and I think that it's because I embrace so much darkness and I embrace skepticism and negativity, and I've made my peace with it so I can be happy. In the same way that you can really embrace the dark, scary things about ourselves and with things about people like Andrew. You're well aware of the fact that there is also light within this person and potential." At number 3, we have Zac Efron as Ted Bundy in Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. Nothing makes Hollywood happier than putting a hot actor in an unassuming role. In order to play the man who claimed at least 30 victims in 7 states during the mid-1970s in Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, Zac Efron underwent a physical transformation and lifestyle change, which resulted in the already svelte actor losing 13 pounds. A high school musical star stated that his research into Ted Bundy's personality and mannerisms revealed something scary about him. Zac stated that Ted and him had quite a bit in common in the way they both carried themselves. There are a few mannerisms. People can tell that Ted was a bit bashful and timid. He was also a well-spoken man, but he hid his anxiety with a bit of smile. Zac added that he did not want to do too much of an impersonation. Zac went on to say that his character isn't just a villain, but a human being, and the story isn't just about hacking and slashing. It's a love story from a very unique perspective, according to Zac. That's something I've never seen before. It piques my interest. I believe it is more psychological and even more mind-boggling. At number 4, we have Kathy Bates as Madame Delphine LaLaurie in American Horror Story. Kathy Bates consistently shines among the cast of American Horror Story, but her best role was Delphine LaLaurie. While she has since appeared as several characters in other seasons of American Horror Story, her Emmy Award-winning performance as Madame LaLaurie remains the Grand Dame. The real Madame LaLaurie was a New Orleans socialite who had a penchant for torturing her slaves. Accounts of the atrocities range from chaining her 70-year-old cook to the oven to reserving specific areas of her home for the most heinous mutilation. Kathy found it difficult to play a character like Madame LaLaurie. It required her to enter the mind of a racist and a sadist in order to understand why her character acted the way she did. Kathy faced the Herculean task of attempting to empathize with the monster of Madame LaLaurie in order for the audience to sympathize with her. Some viewers believed Delphine could have come around from her racist ideologies given enough time, while others believed she would never have changed. She found humor and humanity in the role, if only to highlight its complexities, which is a tribute to Kathy's acting talent. At number 5, we have Samantha Morton as Myra Hindley in Longford. It takes a strong actor to play Britain's most evil woman, but Samantha Morton proved she was up to the task in 2006's Longford. Viewed through the eyes of Lord Longford, who was portrayed by Jim Broadbent, a man seeking to pardon Moore's murderer Hindley, viewers are treated to an unexpectedly soft-spoken, feminine version of the killer as she swings between performative and genuine repentance, but one deserving of a Golden Globe. At number 6, we have Tony Curtis as Albert DeSalvo in The Boston Strangler. The Boston Strangler is widely regarded as Tony Curtis's best dramatic performance. As the infamous title suggests, to disguise his attractiveness, Tony wore a fake nose, dark contact lenses, and padded his midsection. Tony's performance in this avant-garde film, one of the first to employ the multiple image technique on screen, is riveting, captivating, and completely believable, disguise or no disguise. To break out of his rut, he played Albert DeSalvo, the infamous Boston Strangler who murdered 13 women in Massachusetts in the early 1960s. Curtis received a Golden Globe nomination for his chilling portrayal of Albert DeSalvo, who was imprisoned for his crimes in 1967 and stabbed to death 6 years later. At number 7, we have David Tennant as Dennis Nilsen in Muswell Hill Murderer. In one of his darkest roles to date, David Tennant played Dennis Nilsen, the notorious Muswell Hill Murderer, a Scottish serial killer and a necrophile, who murdered at least 12 young boys and men in North London from 1978 to 1983. David's blood-curdling performance as serial killer Dennis Nilsen has been widely praised by viewers. One viewer who has worked in the prison system said the show was impressively true to life. David is one of a long line of actors who have portrayed some of the world's most prolific murderers, and it's easy to see why. The role of a serial killer allows an actor to show off their range and break free from stereotypes. We are nearing the end of our video, but before we proceed, we would like to ask you to please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/c/YouWannaWatch2022 and follow us on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/YouWannaWatch. Any support you provide us will help us provide you with more and better content. Okay, now back to the story. At number 8, we have Cameron Britton as Ed Kemper in Mindhunter. In its 2 seasons, Netflix's Mindhunter featured a number of real-life criminals, but it is Cameron Britton's performance as Ed Kemper, the so-called co-ed killer who murdered 10 people, including his own mother, that sticks with everyone who watches. The chilling, matter-of-fact politeness with which Cameron lists his crimes and how he committed them earned the actor critical acclaim as well as an Emmy nomination. Cameron's role in Mindhunter was, believe it or not, his first major TV role. He'd appeared in a few other shows in minor roles, but his role in Mindhunter was his first guest spot. Cameron has spoken about the difficulties of playing a deeply disturbed character like Ed Kemper, who resented, and eventually murdered, his own mother. He is clearly a fan favorite, despite playing one of the show's most depraved characters. At number 9, we have Charlize Theron as Aileen Wuornos in Monster. While still in her early career, South African actress Charlize Theron began to reject glamorous roles in favor of interesting parts that would challenge her creatively. Her prudence paid off when she landed the role of sex worker-turned-killer Aileen Wuornos in writer-director Patty Jenkins's Monster, for which she received an Academy Award. Aileen Wuornos murdered and robbed 7 of her male customers. She claimed that all of the homicides were committed in self-defense after her clients raped or attempted to rape her. Charlize read letters written by Aileen Wuornos, who murdered 7 men in Florida in 1989 and 1990, to gain insight into the conflicted woman's mind, but her biggest challenge was reshaping the way she walked, talked, and emoted. Charlize stated that she was fortunate to have a lot of footage of Aileen and that she just watched it all the time. She observed Aileen's behavior and spent a lot of time in front of the mirror mimicking her and attempting to pick up 5 things she kept doing constantly and becoming comfortable with them. She also mentioned that Aileen had a waddle and that it was easy for her, and that when she was intense, her eyes would get really big, which is the opposite of what some people do. Charlize carried her tension in her forehead, whereas Aileen carried it in her mouth. And finally, at number 10, we have Evan Peters as Jeffrey Dahmer in Dahmer, Monster, the Story of Jeffrey Dahmer. No stranger to creepy roles, Evan Peters plays Jeffrey Dahmer in the Netflix series Dahmer, Monster, the Story of Jeffrey Dahmer. The actor has previously played a number of dark characters on the anthology series American Horror Story, but he admitted that playing Jeffrey Dahmer was a new challenge. Peters explained in an interview with Netflix that he was very scared about all of the things that Jeffrey Dahmer did, and playing Jeffrey's character was one of the hardest things he ever had to do in his life because he wanted it to be very authentic. And in order to portray the character effectively, he went to places that were really dark and stayed for an extended period of time. Many true crime dramas can spark debate if the sensitive subject matter is not handled properly. According to Evan, creator Ryan Murphy had a guiding rule for how the story would be told. Evan added that the Jeffrey Dahmer story is so much bigger than just him. It's how society and how the system failed to stop him multiple times because of racism, homophobia. They had one rule going into the story, that it would never be told from Jeffrey Dahmer's point of view. What do you think about our list? Who among the actors and actresses in our list was the best? Did we miss anyone or anything that you think should have been included? Let us know your thoughts by writing a comment on this video. If you're interested in our other videos, just hover over the videos and just press play. Until next time, watchers, thank you for watching our video.